Lviv is the most western city here in Ukraine. Aside from the occasional air raid sirens, life goes on as it would in just about any other European city. Tiny coffee shops, walkable city streets, stunning architecture. Lviv is a place you go to get away, a place to escape, because Lviv is beautiful. Lviv is also old, really old in fact. The oldest city I've ever photographed. You can find its founding all the way back in the 13th century, 1256 to be exact. I could sit here and give you the cliff notes of Lviv's history, but I prefer a Ukrainian voice to do that for me. And joining me to do just that and help show me around Lviv is my friend Andriy, a translator, historian, and part-time fixer here in Lviv.
So you see, our city of Lviv has very interesting history because it all starts from 13th century, so 1200s. You can imagine that in 1200 it was a capital of Kingdom of Ruthenia. So Kingdom of Ruthenia is medieval Ukraine.
Yes.
And King Danilo or Daniel, so Ukrainian is Danilo, so he is credited for by basically making this city significant. And the name in Lviv comes from name of his son Leo. Leo means lion. You probably heard that story.
That's the basic line of story that I've heard on there.
That's the basic, but basically, so actually, so to get into more details, when Leo was marrying a princess from Hungary, it was a wedding gift from his father. So he had a cool father, right? It's a great gift.
I mean, come on, right? Like,
yeah. Who wouldn't like to have father like that? Leo, or Lev in Ukrainian, lion basically, he loved this city so much that he made it into his capital and center of his realm.
yes.
At that time, we lived in a very turbulent times because the Mongol invasion started and it ravaged all Europe, including like Germany, Hungary, Poland, and other areas. So basically, nobody could stop the Mongols, but this city was able to stop it. Actually, when Mongols tried to capture Lviv, we were resisting so hard that whenever Mongols captured someone, they would strip them naked and show off to anyone. It was during the winter, and the winter was cold. They were cold at that time, so basically it was the death sentence. So very harsh punishment, but still people were resisting. So then the Mongol envoys were, visiting Lviv, and they were demanding the surrender. But we rused them, we tricked them. So we actually decided to take all of the cattle, all of the chicken, and let them wander streets of Lviv. And then we took barrels and placed them upside down, so the bottom of the barrel is up, and if we had some food, we put them on top. So that way it looked that barrels are full.
Yes.
And when Mongol envoys, when they saw this, when they say, yeah, this city would be very hard to take, let's go somewhere else.
Okay.
So that's how we were able to survive Mongol onslaught by tricking them. King Danilo, he was doing his best to resist the Mongols. He was trying to make the coalition of European rulers against the Mongols, and he was asking Pope to send help and other European kings. So Pope, he was thinking, yeah, what can I do? Okay, I could send you money, but I like money myself. I could send you an army, but I'm not like a king. I don't have an army.
Sure.
I could ask other kings to join your army. Yeah, your crusade. That would be good, right? And I can send you a crown. This I can do. So he sent a crown to King Danilo. He was okay. It's a handsome crown. I like
Yeah.
it, but I would really appreciate some support. So the Pope, I think his name was also Leo. I can't remember who was the Pope at that time, but he said, yeah, I can start the crusade, but basically I can't force them to go. And actually no one showed up. We were waiting for many days, and no one showed up for that crusade. Only medieval Ukrainians or Ruthenians. So we were able to defeat Mongols several times, but they were coming, and
Of course.
and so it wasn't possible to fully defeat them, and King Danilo had to basically make peace with them. He was like he hated it that he had to go to the headquarters of Khan Batu, but he had to do that. He even drank that famous drink kumis, which is like horse milk. And yeah, it probably wasn't something he loved, but
A punishment, to be sure, right?
yeah, of course. But there were other rulers of medieval, like you could say Ukraine, but there were like parts of Russia to near Moscow. So he fully accepted that the ruler of what was Moscow at that time. He fully accepted Mongols as their overlords. He said, yes, you are my liege, tell me what to do. Like and they benefited from it, because Moscow was like a backwaters city at that time, but thanks to service to Mongols, they fully accepted service to Mongols. They said, yes, you are my overlord, tell me what to do. You want me to punish my own people? I'd love to do that.
Right.
You want me to collect basically tribute for you? Yes, I can do that. I can even torture my own people for you. I'd love to do that. And he was fully basically like a Mongol subject, like the ruler of medieval Moscow, what is now Moscow. But King Danilo, he was trying to find a way to basically defeat Mongols, but he would need a large coalition of European rulers, but nobody showed up. Nobody wanted to fight Mongols. It wasn't glamorous. It was more glamorous to go to Holy Land, to Palestine, to die there, than to defend your own homeland, like your own continent. It's crazy.
Andrei is correct, of course. Ruthenia was medieval Ukraine. In the same way that modern-day Romania was once Wallachia, so it was that Ukraine was once Ruthenia. Of course, the Russia simps will just flail around on the floor screaming no when you tell them this, but, you know, they do so hate reality. Ukraine is more than just war, death, and destruction. Being in such a beautiful city, away from the front, gave me a rare opportunity to do something a little special. A bit of street photography in a war zone. An opportunity that most street photographers would sell their ridiculously priced Leicas for. Speaking of cameras, what a more interesting combo for me today than the Konica Genbu Kuntoku, a solid, nearly indestructible point-and-shoot camera, and some good old Kodak Portra 400.
This square seems to be kind of the heart and the hub of everything here in
Yes,
Lviv.
yes, this square is the heart of the city, and in medieval times it was a place of festivals and and many trade fairs, and the merchants from all of the world would gather here and they would sell their goods, because you see Lviv was one of the main trading hubs of Europe, because the great Silk Route of China would pass through Lviv. So it starts somewhere in China and then in Portugal. So indeed it travels through Lviv. So basically that's one trade route. But there was another trade route, which is the northern trade route from Scandinavia to Constantinople and basically southern Europe,
Right.
which also passed through Lviv. So Great Silk Route and Varangian Route, two trade routes. So the second would, so the Silk Route is obvious because of Chinese silk,
Yes.
and Varangian route is because Varangians were the Vikings who traveled to Constantinople to serve as like bodyguards and elite soldiers of Roman emperors. Of
course.
They were called the Varangians, so that's why. But it's not just people moved, but the goods also moved. So they're like a route from Scandinavia to southern Europe. Here you can see a house owned by the Council of Venice, so basically ambassador of
The winged
Venice.
lion, yes.
He lived here right in front of the city hall,
Yes.
because Venice also had their interests in Lviv. Let's take a look inside. What?
Because Venice had trading hubs in a lot of southern Ukraine too, right?
Yes, exactly. Like in Crimea, and also at some point Genoa had like the whole like region of Crimea was controlled by the city of Genoa, which was like a enemy of Venice, and actually it was called Kapitanstvo Gotia, so basically the Gothic kind of kingdom of something like that, but it was ruled by captain from Genoa.
Yes.
So of course, because you need to trade by ship, so. But now let me show you a special place which is called Kryivka, which is like a hideout of partisans during the World War II. But now it's like a restaurant, but it has some funny traditions. So let's take a look.
Absolutely.
Hasła!
Слава Україні!
Героям слава Гондарі! Москалі немає?
Ні, тільки американці, бачите, у нас.
Знаєш, праворуч вихід через Болгар.
Дякую. So, this is a hideout of Ukrainian freedom fighters during World War II. They fought Nazi Germany, they fought Soviets, they fought all the enemies of Ukraine.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава! So you see, you could punch someone's face if you really want.
I think I know who that might be, you know? So
Oh, yeah, you can see it's.
just like a submarine, huh?
Yes, yes, yes. So you can launch a torpedo into Kremlin.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna be here for a second waiting for the shot. But it'll be great when I get it.
And it was, in fact, not a sick shot.
was this guy hiding yesterday? Oh, it's the back of one. Ooh. Wonder if I can do something with this.
This one though, yes, I deserve that sweet. I love this shot. I am not even angry at the power lines like I normally would be. The light shining through the back of the gate, landing on this person just sells it all the way for me. While I feel the mix of the old and the new architecture really just scream Lviv, or maybe I'm full of it again.
All right, round 2 of this church.
While we're here, I'm sure you're curious about this little camera, the Konica Genbu Kantoku, or translated from Japanese, Konica Site Supervisor. Site, of course, being spelled S-I-T-E, and not the far more clever S-I-G-H-T. The Konica Genbu Kantoku was not available for the public when it came out. Instead, this was a specialty design, made only for construction sites. Because of that need, it is built to withstand soaking in water, being dropped multiple times, dust storms, and even Godzilla. Okay, one of those things might have been made up.
Here you see some medieval professions. So those are the most important medieval professions in Lviv.
Painting and beer making?
Yes.
Yes. Well, one feeds the other, right?
Of course. You drink beer, then you have good mood, you can start painting.
Divine inspiration. So, so there, I can see more over there as well.
Yes,
Is this kind
there
of
are
more of
more.
a modern art project that
Yes,
they've done?
it's modern artists created it, but the idea was to commemorate medieval professions which were important in Lviv.
Yes.
And you see beer making, painting, you can see barrel maker and
For the
weapon-
beer, of course, right?
Of course, it fits. It all fits. It also like, and of course, weaponsmith, like weapon maker. So again, it's a profession that is probably getting some revive because some people have hobbies collecting swords. And
Are you one of them on there? Is this a self thing, or?
I wish, because now I have, but unfortunately, probably in near future I'll be forced to become a gun nut because
yes.
with what is happening in Ukraine, you have to be practical.
Yes,
I
yes.
would like to have a blade for my soul, but probably I will have to get a rifle.
Well, there was an an Englishman in World War II.
Yeah.
They just called him Mad Jack. He went into battle kilt and sword,
Oh wow!
bagpipe sometimes too.
Oh wow!
He's a fascinating person to listen. So you could carry on his legend then. So
Maybe, yeah, I will. That would be a sight to behold. To carry a saber and Ukrainian bandura. This is the main square of Armenian neighborhood. Today it's one of the favorite places of students and young people and creative people and for people who just want some quiet place. But also sometimes it's hard to stay quiet here because there are many people who are taking photo shoots here.
Yes.
It's a very beautiful place and favorite place for photo shoots.
Because I'm really great at my job, I didn't get footage of this shot. But I mean, come on. Spur of the moment, quick grab, last frame of the roll. You surely can't blame me, right? I would very much like to come back to this tree at some point, someday in the future. Maybe if this all works out and I get that Anthony Bourdain style show with a budget allowing me to do anything I wanted, I'd be able to come back here in about 10 years and see where this tree is and how it's grown. Out of the 36 exposure roll of Kodak Portra 400, I got 9 keepers and 2 shots straight to the portfolio. It was a nice and sunny day. Real nice and quiet. Until the sirens, of course. These things are just a part of life here. MiG fighter jets would launch hundreds of miles away, and because of their ability to carry hypersonic missiles, the entire country would go on alert. It happened quite a lot during my time in Ukraine, and has historically not been a major issue. Believe it or not, you do just kind of get used to it. Tonight would be a little different, though.
Увага! Громадяни! Повітряна тривога! Відключіть світло, газ, погасіть вогонь у печах. Візьміть засоби індивідуального захисту, документи, запас харчів та води, попередьте сусідів та допоможіть хворим та людям похилого віку вийти на вулицю. Якнайшвидше дістаньте.
A village within the Lviv Oblast was struck. Not a military target in sight, mind you, just Russians murdering Ukrainians. Lviv is far, far away from the front lines. Nearly 600 miles. That's driving from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City. That's driving from London to Paris. Twice. This was one of the largest attacks of the war so far. It knocked down Kyiv's power grid for a day or two. Hell, the Russians even violated sovereign Moldovan airspace just to fire rockets into the western part of the country, all from a warship in the Black Sea, purely out of spite.
I even remember the footage and everyone training or making Molotovs.
Yes, it was like this everywhere. Like here, we also were making Molotov cocktails. Like local brewery, basically donated a large amount of bottles. So there were like very like local brand of beer, like and there were Molotov cocktails, like hundreds, thousands of them, and they were just stored in case we're gonna need them. Yeah, of course, you never know when we're gonna need a good old Molotov.
And then there I was, a poorly funded photographer, a guest in these lands, with nothing more than a couple cameras and a can-do attitude. An attitude that really wasn't feeling it the next morning. My goal in coming into Ukraine was to report on this war in a different way than anyone else I had seen. I would go and see and report on some of the destruction, of course, but I wanted to show Ukraine as more, that it is more than that. This was also something encouraged by Ukrainians before I even got here. The shadow of war is a hard one to run from, though. It is even harder to see the point of reporting in the manner I wanted to after something like this. So, as you can imagine, the next day I wasn't feeling the best. I was sleep deprived, stressed, and I felt guilty. As I was mopping about, others were facing it far worse than I had. Cities and villages in the east are hit hundreds of times more than in the western part of the country. Hell, you get west of the Kyiv Oblast and it's barely been touched by war. It is still heartbreaking when this city and this region comes under fire. I got up anyways though and loaded up a roll of Kodak T-Max 400 into the Konica, and I just wanted to walk around and shoot a bit. While this is my job, it is also my hobby. I have no life outside of light tight boxes. This is a cry for help. Those T-Max shots have been the ones you're seeing now. Then I got this. Rising. That's my beanie-wearing, caffeine-addicted, pretentious photographer name for it. The day after this attack, people still got up and lived their lives as normal. I saw a couple getting their engagement photos done, and I even found this GTA-themed bar. the storm would soon clear, of course, just as I ran out of film. So I switched over to my digital camera, the Canon R7 with the Sigma Art 18 to 35mm f1.8. Throughout the centuries, and without hardly anyone paying attention, the best European architects have come to Lviv to ply their trade and honestly work their asses off to build this gorgeous city. The cultural heart that it is today was a group project. Ukraine works really hard to put its best foot forward and welcome you with open arms. This is a place you want to be, one you never want to leave, and one that I believe photographers could flock to after victory. I mean, this is Europe. The sights, the smells, the people, they are all right there. The Ukrainians have known this, of course, and are currently fighting tooth and nail to just give everyone else the time to catch up and see it too. Lviv survived World War I and World War II. Even the Soviet planned to level the place, and I believe that the City of Lions will be able to do so again. I was approached by this man on the street. He did not ask for food, he did not ask for money, just to be photographed, just to be seen by a wider world, or maybe even just to be seen at all. Perhaps there was something to this after all. People are often surprised when I tell them that Ukraine is, in fact, not one big crater in the ground, that life goes on here. People laugh and enjoy themselves, even right after a massive attack on their country. Perhaps I can bring a new audience to this. Bring this side of Ukraine in front of people who may not have paid attention before. Spur on more donation efforts, and maybe, just maybe, I can do this my way.